I'm finally getting into my backlog that I'm always talking about, and I just completely forgot about Gunslinger Spawn. This is issue number 3, and I've forgotten how much fun I have when I read this book. Though, with that said, I do remember why I kind of dipped out and sort of fell by the wayside. But before we get into all that, this is the script and plot by Todd McFarlane, art by Brett Booth, inks by Adelso Corona, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, and lettering is Tom Orzechowski. So before we get into the part of why I dipped out, I started this and I had to kind of think for a minute. I was like, wait, where the hell were there dinosaurs in Gunslinger Spawn? And then I realized, okay, we're introducing to the baddies. So I just kind of like how we get a close-up of like a T-Rex mouth to sort of get that symbolism of the bad dude. We'd hoped to be the first to get to Gunslinger before Cagliostro. Obviously, that didn't happen. And I never read Spawn Universe, so if you guys want to clue me in down in the comments, please do. Around this time, and still to this day, I'm really burned out on event books. So when they're like, read this next big event, I'm like, no, I don't feel like reading 112 comics of an event just to get a single idea that could have been done in less than that. So this is like a hunter, kind of like baddie collective, I guess is the lack for a better word. So we've shifted our plans. Your direct presence won't be needed for now. You'll be assigned instead to oversee the whereabouts of the other Hellspawns that came through the void at the same time as the Gunslinger. It's imperative to know if any of them have made contact with each other. And to be clear, we're focused strictly on the spawns that come through the void with Gunslinger. Simmons, the She-Spawn, and Jim Downing. They were here already. It's the others targeting for now. Your job is to report on their activities. Gunslinger is ours. And that's why Dakota has been brought in. She and her pets specialize in these types of hellspawns. So, of course, there's the pissing contest. This sort of reminds me of early X-Force when it was, I don't remember the name of the club or whatever, the Upstarts, I think is what it was. And it was Fitzroy, Cortez, some old android dude I can't remember, and Sebastian. It was either, no, it wasn't Sebastian, it was Shinobi Shaw. But that's kind of what this reminds me of. They're like, this is bullshit. Cagliostro screwed things up. We get that. What makes him our mess? We'll deal with him. And Gunslinger. And now, from what I understand, this is the first appearance of this Dakota character. And when I look at her, it's beautifully done. Don't get me wrong. This artwork is absolutely fan-frickin-tastic. Like, you can see how McFarlane really inspired Brett Booth. Like, you can see both of their styles really jiving with each other. But she's so much like the way that she's drawn. She reminds me of Wanda. Now, I think, remind me if I'm wrong, I think it was like issue like 190 or 200, I think, when I think Wanda finally dies, I think is what it is. They Spawn and her. I talked about it in my Spawn review, so we can do that. But anyway, I think she dies, and that was like the first death of Clown or something like that. But anyway, I can see very much the Wanda inspiration in this character. That's not going to happen. Yell all you want. Go ahead, beat your chest and tell us how wonderful you are, Cyrus. It's not going to change things. You and your group had your chance, and you blew it. And that's okay. You still bring a lot of value to the table. That's why we're here. Now, with that said, I don't want to go into the whole plot, obviously, but one thing Brett Booth does understand that we've been kind of howling about in the last few comic reviews. Once we get towards the end, it says Cyrus begrudgingly nods, then leaves without another word. Did we just hear third-person narration? What is that? We don't know what that is anymore. And it helps to lead into why this group also has a beef against this character. And this brings me to my point of why I kind of dipped out. When I first picked this up, I was really hoping that we were going to get away from all the murkiness of the main Image universe. I was hoping that we were going to kind of like how the early issues of I cannot pronounce this guy's name, Jimmy Palmioti's, I think is how you say it, Jonah Hex back during the New 52. If you haven't read that, the first half is really awesome, but then the latter half, when he actually comes to Gotham, it gets a little silly. But going back in time and seeing the early Gotham City with Jonah Hex and teaming up with Amadeus Arkham, that was a fun read. I'm really upset that they kind of rushed that along towards the end, because it could have been something that would have been a great ongoing series. Anyway, my point being, I was really hoping that we were going to get into the Old West and just be able to tell our own stories with some nods to the future that fans would know, instead of bringing the Gunslinger all the way to the future, and then this guy, of course, being a threat. And he's just like I'm sure they're going to do character development with him, but right now all he is to me is just a whiny little bitch. It's like, you serious? You expect me to just pack up and leave because you said so? My dad's dead. You just haven't told me why or what all that crazy shit was last night. Are you that thick? And one thing about Gunslinger Spawn, and maybe that's just because I'm partial, but if you guys have never read The Dark Tower, go read the books. Don't waste your time with the movie. The movie's trash. But the original Stephen King Dark Tower books, when you meet Roland the Gunslinger, one of my all-time favorite literary characters of modern times. Both Gunslinger and I guess to a lesser degree Jonah Hex remind me of Roland. And so that's kind of what I have in my head. Your dad and them angels wanted to kill you. That's why you all need to know. Most folks that ain't brain dead would have already been gone from here. Because the ones that sent them angels, when they find out most ain't coming back alive, they'll send more to hunt us down. That's strange. I know you're a little slow-minded, but I didn't figure for someone that was scared of things. And yeah, he's just a little punk. And I know that it's character development, but it just, he's so obnoxious. And then, look, we get more third-person narration to move the story along. Gunslinger is disinterested in Taylor's opinions. He's concerned more about finding a way to hunt down every enemy from his past that may still be alive. Because either Gunslinger is going to kill them here and now, or he'll find a way back home to the year 1864 and kill them there. Either way, they're going to die. Yes! It's just been so long since I've seen third-person narration. And then we kind of get some quirkiness of him buying supplies. And he looks at a modern-day map and is actually able to figure out where he needs to go. And then we also get, and I believe this is the first time, I'm not sure back in the day that when Gunslinger was first introduced, which that book goes for crazy money now, but we actually get to see his face. And I'll be honest, I mean, it's a cool concept to see what he actually looked like, but to the same degree, it's like when you see Al Simmons' face, it just takes away from that mystique of the ominous mask of what's this character going to do. So it's cool and weird at the same time. But thankfully, at this point, they finally part ways. I'm sure he'll come back, but it's nice that we're like, okay, this whiny little character is finally out of the way. Spawn tells him to go find somewhere safe. And also, this is, I believe, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time we are introduced to his name, which he says, you can call me Javi. Yep. So let's get past all that. And then it says here, now, as night falls across the prairies, Gunslinger rests, knowing the calm he feels is but a rare break from his battles. And then finally we see him go up against Dakota. And this right here, my friends, the place isolated from prying eyes, is exactly where he wants to be. He's met his enemies. He's met enemies on this field before. He knows it's only a matter of time before they show themselves again. Like, this would be something you would see like maybe on the cover of Wizard magazine back in the day. That's how great that piece is here. And again, with Dakota, you don't know a whole lot about her. But I just love how she has like the 90s belts, the guns, and the way that her hat here, I don't know what the type of hat this is called, but you just see the little bit of separation to just see that one eye. She circles him a few times, sizing him up. I'll get straight to the point. We're making plans, and from what I'm told, you could be very useful towards some of those problems. I've seen plenty of you heroes that didn't live up to their hype. You the real deal? Gunslinger doesn't utter a syllable as he holsters his weapon. The strong, silent type are you? I like that. And then we are finally introduced to Dakota's powers. And guys, just like the Violator, she is not someone that you trifle with. Speaking of the Violator, there's an interesting way that this book ends with Clown. But I love that we're seeing our hero being put through the ringer by this brand new villain. I was enthralled. By the time I was done, I was like, it's over? I want more! Which I do believe I have issue 5, so we will eventually go over it. But this was a fun read, guys. And if you want like some old school, like 90s feeling comic action and energy, this issue is definitely up your alley. So with that said, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is to get your action figures and comics and grab this series. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little spawn bell next to subscribe, that way as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with you and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure that the links down in the description. And if you enjoy what I do, I'll let the PayPal link down in the description. And if not, I still appreciate you checking out this video. So either way, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.